So somehow, between the weird AF schedule that we had for this chapter's first scan release, all the way up into the official chapter release, I wound up waiting for the official chapter to drop an official chapter review, unlike what I did for the last chapter, where it was just a review based on the scanned version of the chapter. So somehow we wind up back here, and it's only gonna get weirder, because again, moving forward, I do want to kind of move away from doing these sort of official chapter reviews and kind of just do like one video for the chapter, so I can focus more on doing topic videos, theory videos, that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm gonna try moving forward. I'm gonna do that probably for the next chapter and see how that goes, because I do want to be more consistent and earlier, quicker. But here we are, nonetheless, for this chapter of One Piece 1090 officially. Now, if you have not seen, as per usual, my live reaction to the chapter, you know where to go, on the Requiem channel for that chapter reaction. The full stream is on twitch.tv. 1. 2. Just uploaded the One Piece episode 1071, the Nika Madness, the Gear 5 reaction on my Cole Sand channel for those anime reactions. And you can also see on my channel, we have a bunch of shorts. Holy shit, Camilla has an actual dump truck. And those shorts are now also being uploaded to my TikTok. Correctamundo. We have a TikTok account. We're uploading on that. I think for the time being, like maybe twice a day, the shorts, they're coming, and they're coming in waves. Now, that being said, let's get into this chapter. As per usual, we're gonna break it down step by step, piece by piece, with no translation difference today, because we're focusing again on the official chapter release here. So that means that we have just the 3 sections: the pace and structure, the character elements, and then finally the story progression components for this chapter. So let's get right into it. First of all, as per usual, the pace and structure. For this chapter, we have a total of 6 parts. Number 1, we start off on Egghead Island with Luffy talking to the 5 elders in conjunction with Big News Morgan's airship and the Holy Land. That's number 1. Number 2 is that we cut to the random ship that Elder J is posted up at. That's number 2. Number 3 is that we cut back to Egghead Island with the Strats and company in the main lab in conjunction with the Labo Phase basement area with the CP agents and the Seraphim, they're there, and a mini flashback in that biggest section of the chapter. After this, number 4 is that we do skip forward in time, where we have Luffy's new group. So it's Luffy, Frankie, Bonnie, and Lilith. They're going outside the main lab to get the Vega Force 1 and the Sunny Go. Number 5 is that we cut back again to this random ship where Elder J is still post up, but this time now with Kizaru. And then number 6, that all the ships in the area prepare for battle while Kizaru initiates the attack in conjunction with the Labo Phase and their reactions, mainly Luffy. So that is it when it comes to the pace and structure. At first, you might think that there actually were more parts than 6, but it's because a lot of the chapter is centered on broad communication between parties and the battle being set up by the Marines. So many parts are actually structurally in lockstep with one another. And even though I could have, let's say, done 9, I thought that 6 parts from a structural standpoint made the most sense. And on that note, then, I would say the pace is good. Like, it's not too much, not like 9 or 10, but ultimately it is a well-paced and a solid chapter when it comes to structure, in my book. Now we have the character components for this chapter. And for this chapter, we're going to start off with numero uno, St. J. Garcia Satter. Jay tells Doberman to think of human lives as nothing more than insects. They will always breed to make up for any loss. This is, honest to God, a 1-to-1 with the mentality needed to initiate the object above Lucia Kingdom and wipe out millions in a single go in chapter 1060, or usher in things like great cleansings in chapter 908. People forget that the Gorosei, the 5 elders, they're also celestial dragons. Just how the vast majority of them believe themselves to be gods, a superior race compared to humans, saying J. Garcia Saturn, he is no different. In fact, you can argue he's worse than the other normie celestial dragons. So it's very, very likely that the other Gorosei, the other 5 elders, Marcus, Top Man, Ethan, and Shepard, it's likely that those guys also feel the same way about human beings like their good old boy Jay. And very likely that Emu also has very similar feelings about quote-unquote human beings. His words here are just a refresher to remind people like, hey, they're still celestial dragons and they still view humans as inferior in every way possible. That's the one for character Saturn. Number 2, S-Snake. So I'm now considering the Seraphim as actual characters. This could be on my part premature, so I might change my mind on this later, but for now, I'll say the characters. S-Snake is attracted to Luffy just like Boa Hancock is. Attraction is in part genetic, obviously, but in her case, it's like way more severe, where she completely gives in to the demands of Luffy like Boa Hancock normally would. So a lot of folks are curious about like when this cloning took place. Was it, let's say, during the time skip after Boa Hancock was in love with Luffy? Now, let's say long before she even met Luffy. Not too sure. Does it really matter? Nah, I don't think so. That's number 2 for character. Number 3 is Rob Lucci. While keeping his cool and seemingly following along the Straw Hats, he has been relaying information to the Marines about the situation the Strats are in earnest. So his intel gathering and his ability to share information with the Marines, despite his current situation, proves that he is a good spy agent for the world government. Rob Lucci only temporarily formed alliances to fight against the Seraphim for his own life's sake and Kaku's as well. That was pretty much it. But ultimately speaking, after it's all said and done, we return to form. By the way, the Strats are lying because they actually have few cats injured and they cannot escape the Labo face. That is Rob Lucci, number 3 for character. Number 4 is going to be Kizaru. He's here. Him attacking Sentomaru does display a 1, high level of foresight, 2, some degree of honor, generosity, you can argue, and then 3, tactical wit on his part. Sentomaru does control, for the most part, the Mark III pacifistas, and attacking him in, I think, some ways would lessen the forces that the Marines have to deal with. 1. 2, because of their history, he's willing to tackle him head on to start the battle off. So there's a sense of sportsmanship, a sense of honor as they fight for the lives of the Vegapunks. Because we know in the last chapter, Sentomaru and Kizaru, they had that dispute about it. That is Kizaru, and then finally for character, of course, is going to be Sentomaru. Sentomaru seemingly uses observation haki in order to block Kizaru's kick. Now, this is my assumption, since in the panel when Kizaru is using the Yatamira and he's entering the island, Sentomaru says, "You're finally here." So Sentomaru knew well in advance that Kizaru was here, and very likely it's because he sensed Kizaru when he arrived on the island. Hence his guard being on point when he blocks that kick. So that is it when it comes to the character components for this chapter of One Piece. And now finally, the story progression components for this chapter. Number 1, Luffy's first time in the entire series talking to the 5 elders, the Gorosei. And while he talks to them, we find out that Big News Morgans is listening in with Vivi and Wapol. So this might mean that they're nearby, or it could mean that Big News Morgans has inside men on the Marines and they are wiretapping at his behest. So his giant airship may not be anywhere even close, but he has boys on the inside wiretapping for him. After this, we find out the 3 most important things that Saturn is telling the Marines to focus on. Number 1 is, of course, we gotta get York. Number 2, of course, Punk Records. Number 3 is the power plant that creates the mother flames. I did a video where you have Dr. Vegapunk as Oppenheimer over here, check it out, and we talk about the importance of the mother flames in great detail. It does tackle general science in some ways, so just heads up if that's not your forte. But I think nonetheless, very important stuff. We cut back to the Strata Company, and we see 3 people wrapped up in bandages in Luffy's clique: Edison, Robin, and Kaku. In chapter 1078, Atlas told Robin and Chopper about the locked up place in the lab that no one goes to anymore, and now she's injured. So it's very likely that she actually went to that place, fought against someone or something, and then she got injured in the process. My guess here is that she ran into a Seraphim, and this can actually co-sign with Kaku's injuries. So Kaku said that he fought against two Seraphim, and he had to chase Zoro in 1078, who was also chasing S-Hawk. So since S-Shark and S-Bear were at that time preoccupied, it's very likely that Kaku had to deal with S-Hawk and S-Snake by himself for a period of time, which is why he has all these major wounds. And if that place they were going to in that chapter way back when Robin was, if that place was where the CP agents were and where York was, then York could have played a role, of course, in Robin's injuries, but I want to say even still, she also ran into a Seraphim. And then when it comes to Edison's wounds, he got those in chapter 1077 by S-Shark. Now, Rob Lucci does mention a 4th person, but I don't see a 4th person at all. So there could be someone else that's injured somewhere else, or it could be an error on Oda and staff's part. And then it is also stated that Pythagoras and Shaka are dead. They are just flat out dead. Of course, when it comes to One Piece, keep an asterisk, a star, in the back of your mind. But nonetheless, right now, dead. Shaka got shot by York through the skull in 1077, and Pythagoras got crushed by S-Snake in 1078. So 2 Vegapunks right now are down. Next story, the CP agents have been given food by the Straw Hats, and all the Seraphim are stuck in the same bubbles that we see Lilith use against S-Snake in chapter 1077. The bubbles have the energy of the sea imbued into them, and the Seraphim given their artificial green blood are Devil Fruit users. In chapter 1077, we see Frankie kind of place the bubble on top of S-Snake before she tricks him, but now it looks like you can actually put someone inside of that bubble, kind of similar to what we saw back in Fishman Island. Now, apparently, at some point in this whole process of doing all these shenanigans, S-Snake fell in love with Luffy, and that's why the petrification was undone on Usopp's group. After this big news, not Morgan's, just in general, the Straw Hats have decided to flee to Elbaf, the second best destination after the moon. But whatever, you know, again, I'm hoping that after Elbaf, we take the Yggdrasil Tree of Might, and then there's a pathway, a rainbow road like in Mario Kart that leads to the moon.
It's a road called Rainbow Road. It's a road we're all gonna go.
Please. With that being said, so Elbaf is in the works, and they make a plan to escape this area and go into Elbaf as soon as possible. And what's also really cool too is that the song that Luffy and Usopp sing in this chapter, Elbafu, Elbafu, that song was actually first sung by the same 2 goofballs in chapter 129, over 950 chapters ago when they were leaving Little Garden. People forget, Elbaf was an arc that was hyped up even before Wano Country. I've been waiting for a long time for Elbaf and the Usopp greatness. The Usopp greatness is going to exceed expectations, I promise you that. In the wise words of one Whitebeard, the Elbaf arc is real! After this, we have the Marines preparing to attack while getting information from the inside man Rob Lucci, and Kizaru enters the island attacking Sentomaru. And that is it when it comes to the story progression components for this chapter of One Piece. So all in all, this I thought was a pretty damn good setup chapter. Absolutely. Obviously does set up the last stretch of Egghead Island, of course, the importance of the power plant and other tech components. Then of course you have the escape plan, then setting up more outside the arc stuff with Vivi and Morgans and Walpole. And Luffy and the elders have finally talked for the first time. So this is setting up some intriguing stuff, and again, you cannot help but wonder if this shocking event that is going to flabbergast the world after the events of Egghead Island is going to involve Mr. J, because Mr. J is here and he's being a bit of a meanie. So again, we have to wait and see. The one problem that is very apparent with this whole chapter and the last chapter is the skipping. I understand that some folks are cool with it, but at the same time, we have injured crew members, well, just Robin. And listen, I am dying for Robin fights. She finally got one after years from Skypiea to Wano Country. And so if she fought against a Seraphim and that was skipped, potentially, then that absolutely rubs me the wrong way. For the few dozen Kaku fanboys, Kaku fought against apparently 2 Seraphim. Skipped. What? And the Seraphim themselves are already in their bubbles, and we don't know how exactly they got captured. People have been theorizing for a very, very long time that Conqueror's Haki infusion were able to bypass the natural physiology of Lunarian, but I mean, we didn't see anything. The skipping, I think, is minus points. I'll keep it a stack. And I'm hoping at least that throughout the rest of this arc, we do get these flashbacks, like way more robust flashbacks. But we get more flashbacks like we got in this chapter with Luffy and S-Snake, where at some point, Luffy and her met, and then she fell in love with Luffy, and then she kowtowed to his wishes. So hopefully in the future we get to have, let's say, one with Kaku, and we'll have with him, with Zoro, with Sanji, with Robin, please, that'd be wonderful. Even though I know some folks are cool with it, to me it depends. And right now it's, I'm not vibing with it. I think it's a little bit too mismanaged. Well, we want to focus on getting this arc all said and done with, even though in the process we could be losing a lot of quality. For me, when it comes to the writing of One Piece, quality is paramount. I'm here no matter what, all right? So I want quality. So that being said, I'm giving this chapter a 7 out of 10. It could have been higher, 7.58, because we are setting up Elbaf stuff and Morgan stuff, and we have Kizaru finally on the move, Sentomaru making some gains here, and Rabuchi cats love it because Rabuchi looks better as a result, and then all these different things. But the skipping, I think, is minus points, so I'm gonna give it a 7. Still a good, though you can argue maybe even a 6.5. I'm gonna say a 7 out of 10 for this chapter of One Piece. Let me know your thoughts on this chapter. Once again, moving forward, I do plan on changing things when it comes to the reviews, or at least the videos focused on the chapters, and then to come out sooner, but be like one video. That's my plan for the time being. We'll see how things work out. So, that being said, if you enjoy my content, be sure to, of course, rate the vid with the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and double tap subscribe to click on the bell and join the notification squad. I'm gonna catch you cats on the flip side.
See you. Bye bye.